What's up, everybody? I've got today for you a video on audition, prepping, and planning for your marching band season. Marching band season is upon us. Even though it's only February when I'm posting this, it is time to get rolling and get prepared so you don't get behind later on. It's time to think about show design. It's time to think about several things. And when it comes to Drumline, that's what this video is going to cover, because there's several things you might want to think about and start planning for the season. If you don't know me, my name is Dustin Witten. I am a percussion educator and lover of battery percussion for the last 20 or so years, and I'm making these videos and created this channel to share my experience, tips and tricks and insights and all that stuff with you, the band directors and the percussion instructors who are either getting started or maybe they don't have a full-time percussion staff and they need some help knowing what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. If you like that kind of stuff, that's what this channel is. You're right at home, so stay tuned. And we're gonna go ahead and get to the video here on prepping your Drumline auditions. Let's talk about some preseason preparation, okay? So when to start planning? Let's talk about that first. If you are taking over a struggling program, or really even if you're not taking over a program and this is your 10th year, or something, I would recommend starting as early as possible. I don't think most of the time band directors are ready to start in January, February. There's a lot of stuff going on. They're getting back from break. The kid, you're working on, you're starting to pick out your music for your spring concert. Maybe you got concert festival or, honor bands or whatever happens in the spring. A lot of times that doesn't, really allow time for marching band planning. So it really just depends on how competitive you want to be. The earlier you can start, the better. But here's what I would suggest if possible, okay? So January, February, start kind of brainstorming for, your drumline structure, and then just marching band stuff in general, what the show's going to be. And, if we're talking drumline specific, just what improvements you want to be made, and just start the kind of brainstorming and assessing process for the next season. Okay, don't necessarily have to dig in deep, but if you can at least have some ideas on the board and know kind of where you want to go, or the bigger goals you want to tackle in the planning process, the better off you'll be. Okay, so January, February. I'm recording this in December, so if you're already past that, if you're watching it later, just know for next season, you want to try to get started as early as possible, but also understand, that may not always be, you may not always be able to do that with your schedule. And then in March, that's when you really want to begin actually preparing the materials you're going to need. You're going to, schedule any meetings you need to have. If you're a band director, you may want to, start meeting with your staff, and you really want to nail down the time for auditions. Okay. I've always done auditions in like April or May, or maybe both. Maybe like the last weekends in April and some of the weekends in May. It all depends on the band's schedule usually. So, if you're a band director watching this, auditions April, May is usually good enough. You can't really do earlier than that because you just kind of lose some momentum from the very beginning. But if you do later into like June and stuff, you're really kind of delaying progress, and I think that's a little too late in my opinion. But you got to do what you got to do, okay? The other thing I have on here is to schedule the senior meeting. So then we get to April. You want to really kind of finalize your audition plans. At this point, you hopefully got them scheduled, but you want to finalize the materials. You want to maybe even start announcing the summer schedule, what you can do. So if you haven't already announced band camp or rehearsals for the summer, that would be advisable to go ahead and get together and probably distribute and announce that. And then I would say end of April into May, you're going to hold auditions. You're going to announce the placements and leadership. I like to, and I hope that if you have drum staff, or if you are the drum staff, you get a say in who is the leaders. But I like to kind of announce those together somewhat, or at least close to when we have auditions, and maybe a little bit before, and that way you kind of the kids kind of know who's going to be in charge and who to kind of look toward for an example. But you want to kind of have those go hand in hand. For me, I've always been about having kind of open auditions, and every spot is open. Everybody has to re-audition for their spot, so that's why I kind of lean toward announcing the leadership with the whole placements of the entire battery. But if it makes sense to do it beforehand, if everybody else is getting announced beforehand, that works too. Hey guys, real quick, if you didn't know, this video is actually in one of my courses in my online community on school.com. So if you like stuff like this and you want actual help with your ensemble and your specific problems, you can join that community. I'll leave a link in the description below. It's called Directing the Line on school.com. And I hope to see you there. I have it on here that May and June is hold auditions. Like I said, June is pushing it just a little too late. Usually that's after school, depending on where you are. At least where I'm from, that's after school has already ended. So I think that's a little too late for auditions. But during this time, the beginning of the summer, you definitely want to reiterate the summer plans, the band camp schedule, the drum camp schedule if you got one, the summer rehearsals, all that kind of stuff would be good to reiterate and distribute. And then the main thing is that you want to start building early before you actually begin the season. Okay, so just keep that kind of theme in mind as you start planning for the upcoming season. All right, so the leadership meeting, what I did with a program that I took over, I was in a position where I was rebuilding a percussion program that had once been great, but had since fallen off over the years. Had a great band program overall, very strong musicians, very strong winds, but the percussion, at least in marching band, was very lacking. They didn't have any real instruction before I took over, and they hadn't had some for a long time. So what I did is I asked the band director to schedule a meeting for me with the rising seniors so that I could get them on the same page. Because what I knew from previous experience is that if I can get the older kids, the veterans, on the same page and I get them to buy in, then I'll have an easier time getting the younger ones to do it, because all they'll have to do is just follow suit, right? And so I say this not to be like, oh, we've got to manipulate somebody and manipulate the older students, but it's all about being on the same page. It's a team effort, and it doesn't matter what I want to do as an instructor. It doesn't matter what what my goals are, or if I come in and yell at them or not. If they don't really buy into my vision for the Drumline, then it won't matter what happens. I'll be fighting them all year and everything like that. So main thing is I held the meeting and I just listened for most of it. Okay. A lot of it was like, tell me what you did not like before. Tell me what you did like before. Tell me what you would like to see, those types of questions. And we just kind of sat in a circle in the drum room there at the band, off the band room. And, we just talked. And so, there's a list of questions here I'm going to put on the screen, but, what traditions are important? What are your goals for your senior year? What do you want for the line? And then the second part of the meeting was just sharing about what I bring to the table and how I run things. Okay. So we can all be on the same page. They understood that I was going to be in charge, but they also, have to understand where I'm coming from and why I do the things that I do. So I talked about my philosophy. I talked about my expectations, and then, I asked for their thoughts and feedback on that. And at the end of the day, I made the decisions, but I did it with their interests in mind, because I don't teach for me. I teach for the students and their experience. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy writing music and put my stuff out there. But at the end of the day, I'm doing it for somebody else. I'm not doing it just so I can, go out there and improve myself or something. So it's important to actually include those people that I'm doing it for in the conversation. After you have your meeting and you're ready to prepare your materials, um, here's a couple things you're going to need. So you're going to want a welcome letter. I always did a welcome letter kind of uh, basically to the parents of the rising freshmen, but also to everybody else, especially if you're new, to communicate some expectations. So I would put some expectations in there. I would also try to put the schedule if I knew it at the time. Most importantly, contact info, what to bring to rehearsals, um, what to bring to the first rehearsal at least. Just some general information about who you are and that kind of thing. Uh, Also, the audition packet, so, your exercises, what and how to prepare for that, maybe even a technique guide and booklet, which I'll have included as part of this course that you'll get for absolutely no extra cost. And then the season calendar, if possible. So that kind of goes along with the schedule, but the calendar and schedule are two different things. So the schedule would be, what are we doing for the day? And then the calendar would be where the rehearsals are across the time frame that you have the calendar for. Some teaching materials that you may want to have in place would be like fundamental lessons planned. You want to know what you're going to teach, basically. If you're going to start, like I recommended in the previous course, with some reading music or how to hold the stick, we're going to talk about those things first, probably before you get playing. But you're also going to have your fundamental exercises included, usually 8 on the hands, accent tap, double beat, maybe a roll exercise or something like that, a paradiddle builder exercise. Any fundamental exercises you're going to have as part of that packet, have those kind of planned out and selected, and plan out your warm-up routine, how that's going to look. Is it going to be you kind of just telling them to play everything one at a time? Are you going to have a set regimen that you teach them, and they're going to just go from one exercise to the other? Like, what's that going to look like, and how's that going to be established through over the course of the season? Here's the welcome letter components. So include your introduction and background, your overview with key details about the audition process, whatever it's going to look like. I'll get to my audition process in the following lesson, but for this one, just whatever that is for you. Attendance expectations for the audition process, contact information, including how you will communicate throughout the season. Side note, I used the Band app when I was teaching, BAND app, and it's awesome. It's actually for any group, not just band, but has a lot of functionality. So, if it makes sense for you, check that out. And what to bring to that first rehearsal / audition. My auditions were more like rehearsals, so that's why I put that there. And then audition timeline and schedule. How long is it going to take? How many days is the audition? What is the audition going to be like? Is it bring your own lunch that day? Is it just a couple hours? Just make sure all those things are included. Also, you can include the season schedule if you know it. Behavior and attendance expectations. So go ahead and lay out kind of like the band handbook. Your band probably has one. What's the attendance like? Here's an example of something you might consider is summer rehearsals. My thing was like, if you're in town, you're at rehearsal. If you're on vacation, have a good time. So a lot of people want to know, especially rising freshmen, what the expectation is around summer rehearsals. That's going to be a big one. And just anything else you deem necessary to put in there. On day one, you want to make sure that you set expectations early. Okay. You want to clearly communicate your attendance policy. You want to clearly communicate expectations and the method that you used to teach. Practice expectations. Okay. Attitude and respect standards, and then like consequences for violations of those standards and expectations. Those don't all have to be rolled out, I guess, on day one, but you want to set a baseline and then reinforce and add on over time. So definitely want to mention some things as they come up, but you don't have to stand in front of the group and be like, "We will do this. You will run a lap if you do not do this." some of that stuff will take care of itself, but getting a good baseline of this is the drumline we're going to be, this is the ensemble we're going to be, is super important on day one. All right, so parent communication, don't forget the parents. Make sure that you're communicating with them, especially with the ones of the rising freshmen. They always are going to have the most questions. They're not going to know what to expect because they just don't have the resources unless you've provided it to them. So, maybe include in your welcome letter or a separate parent letter, whatever you feel is necessary, who you are, the time commitment that's required, any financial obligations, if should be talking about that, if you want to leave it to the band director, or if you are the band director, whatever's applicable to you. Performance schedule, how to contact you, very important, and then how you're going to be contacting them and communicating all the information and updates throughout the season. Maybe it's that band app, or maybe it's WhatsApp or GroupMe, something like that. So before your first audition, here's 4 things that you might want to think about and kind of remember to have ready before then. Okay, schedule the leadership meeting if it's applicable to your situation. Draft your welcome letter, get it finalized. Create your audition packet, your exercises, your teaching plan, and your technique packet if you have one, and then determine your way of communication that you're going to be talking to the group, whether it's a text message or whatever it is. Finalize that before your first audition so that you can have that in place and get it rolling the very first time you meet with them. Additional resources below, so check it out. I got our welcome letter template for you. You can just customize it, put your name in, and let it roll. It's already got some good info and some good areas to consider. And I've also got some additional tips and inclusions to consider below. So check those out. Make sure you don't miss anything. Even if you've been doing this for a long time, there may be something there for you to make sure that you do it even better and you up your level of communication with your ensemble and your parents. All right, we'll get to the next lesson on, we'll continue talking about how to start your season off right and get your drummers drumming. So I will see you then.